Glasgow here. And Minister, I too would like to welcome you here this evening, and indeed your officials, to discuss this very important issue of rates. And by and large, I support the principle of the bill, but I firmly believe that what we're doing here is kind of tinkering at the edges of an issue that has long gone past its sell-by date. I think we need a complete root and branch review of the entire rate collection system for commercial property. The world has changed, and people here mentioned retail earlier on, and retail on the high street is certainly not what it was. I think online shopping and a number of other developments has changed what was traditionally the high street. That landscape has changed completely, and it's difficult to see that coming back any time soon. And senators here have spoken this evening about rural towns struggling, and unfortunately there are many vacant units scattered around many streets of our towns and villages, and we need urgent action to address the decline of our rural towns, and that is a debate in itself, and it's one that we need to have sooner rather than later. But whether we like it or not, it's linked to the conversation we're having this evening about rates. And then we have the cloud, the dark cloud hanging over us all of Brexit. And I have said it here many times in this House, yes, there's no country that will be more exposed to Brexit than we in Ireland will be. And by the same token, there are no part of the country more exposed to Brexit than that of rural towns located along the border counties from Donegal down to County Louth. And I know currently we have a revaluation process undertaken. I think there's 9 counties in total, of which Monaghan is one of them. And Senator Coffey spoke about the confusion out there in relation to businesses, in relation to the revaluation process. And a lot of business owners are left scratching their head when they get a letter from the valuation office telling them what their new rate would be. And I've had many examples of that, both in Monaghan town and indeed in small villages like Newbliss, where a lady that owns a business, petrol filling station, and built on a sizable extension to the business in order to improve the service to her customers, now finds that her bill for rates has quadrupled from what it was. That rates bill, if it stands the way the valuation office has presented it, could result in that particular business closing down in a rural town and then jobs going with it. So I've said it here, Minister, and I'll ask you the question again. I think we in border towns are very exposed, and business people are very afraid of what the future will hold for them. We always have the challenge in the border counties that others don't have, with currency fluctuations, with sterling and what have you. But I think the rates revaluation in border counties should be suspended until Brexit, until we know where we are with Brexit, because we're struggling to survive with Brexit, never mind the struggle of trying to come to terms with re-evaluation process that's resulting in sizable increases in rates bills for a lot of business owners. And Senator Coffey made the point also, and I think it's a good point, many businesses don't see a correlation with them paying rates and what they're getting in return for it, and that's a big, big problem. They see it in many ways as simply another layer of taxation. They have their turnover, they go to their accountant, the accountant does their books up, tell them they owe the X amount of money to the revenue, and they go and they pay that. Or try and pay it, should I say. And then on top of that, they have a rates bill coming in the door then, as well as that, and they don't see a correlation between that and the service they're providing. So we have a job of work to do to sell to the business community of what exactly they're getting for rates. And that's a big issue, because I spoke to an accountant who had a practice in a street in Monaghan town, and he was just about surviving and no more. And he lived next door to 2 public servants, and he did some work for them. And he said their net income at the end of the year was greater than what his net income was. But yet and all, he had a rates bill to pay, whereas they did not. They were using more water than he was using. They were using more electricity, they were using more services than what he was using, but yet and all, he had a bigger rates bill at the end of the year, and he couldn't understand that. So we have a job of work to do there in relation to that. We also have a job of work to do in relation to transparency from the valuation office as to how they arrive at valuations, specifically in small rural towns and villages scattered throughout the length and breadth of the country. So it's an issue. I do accept that there are good things in this bill. I have no doubt about that, and I support them. But clearly, we need to have a conversation about the future rate collection of attached to our business throughout the length and breadth of this country.